Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Ta-da! It's us. That's right. For those of you who are wondering and thinking, hey, who are these really kind of cool guys who come in on Tuesday? That's probably not us.
That's probably not us.
No,
yeah,
not
you're
us.
watching the wrong show.
But it
But if
is.
you want to learn something,
That's what tonight's all about. With the Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe show coming to you from, goodness gracious, all components are all parts of the internet. A little of Facebook, a little of YouTube, a little of this private group, everywhere.
sounds like a Lou Vega song, you know?
It really does. A little bit of Ben Stowe in my life. A little bit. So we have to address.
Groovy dance there.
We have to address last week's show because we've had some complaints last week from the show. Yes, people who were, the people who are concerned about protection of ice cream products. They were seeing some melty going on. It's been a rough week.
Well, and today would be the day for it. We've had our second summer all of a sudden, and it's got to be about 90 in this room right now. So
It's been miserable for those.
it would be the day, but I don't think I'll just, you know what? I'm not very good at this TV and suspense building thing, so I feel like I'm going to say something I shouldn't say here, but you're probably not going to see any ice cream tonight, and you're probably not going to see my wife tonight. So if you're sticking around for either of those things, you're probably not going to see them.
Yeah, then you're going to be up for the next thing, which is us talking about how to make your speakers wireless and different ideas around that, which is tonight's topic. Yay! So thank you for joining us. There's a great crowd out there already jumping in on Facebook and YouTube and such. So welcome. Ben, this is a question a lot of people ask. Making ceremony systems wireless, making cocktail speakers wireless where they can transmit around the room. I wanted you to kind of give us, for those who have never done anything like this, let's kind of start off what are some pros and cons of having wireless audio, and then we can maybe look at some solutions for being able to do those types of things.
Well, the obvious pro is that there's no wires, which means getting a signal from point A to point B doesn't involve running cable and gaffing it or running it over doorways and that sort of thing, or however you would safely do that. The con, of course, is that nothing is really as reliable as that copper cable. Anytime we introduce wireless, we introduce the possibility of issues, and more on that later, because remind me to come back to the issues thing. I want to talk about that for a minute. But, I just see things on the forums, and it just my head's getting sore from banging it on the wall. So I want to try to figure out a way where we can come to a place where I don't have to do that anymore. So those are your pros and cons, basically. I mean, the pro is convenience, and the simplicity of that. But the con is that you take away that simplicity and add a much higher degree of complexity and cost. Obviously, a good, reliable wireless system is going to cost some money, and it's going to take a little bit of effort to use properly. So it's really a balancing act. That said, good wireless is really hard to beat. I mean, the convenience factor is right up there, and obviously we have. I don't think hundreds would be an exaggeration at all. We have hundreds of customers running speakers wirelessly with great results. So it can be done.
So let's kind of jump into it. Have some different options with that. But before I turn you loose on that, you do professional sound. We've talked about this many times on your shows. Is there a spot within your professional sound when you're working with touring acts that you guys are using wireless audio, besides the handheld mics or those types of things?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be one. Handheld mics is one. The other is wireless monitoring for bands. What they're hearing in their ears. There's some real advantages to this. One is just the lack of stage volume. Think about these stage wedges, we call them, or stage monitors that are blasting at the musician, and they're blasting away loud enough that they can hear it over all the other noise on the stage, the acoustic sound of the drums, the sound of guitar amps. Any bleed back from the mains. These monitors have to be very loud, and obviously that takes a real heavy toll on a professional musician over the course of their career. Two, from a front of house engineer standpoint, there's no way you can keep those monitors out of mics. It's going to get into microphones, and you just have to deal with that. And so it certainly changes the properties of the mix. So in-ear monitors are nice in that regard. They can be done at a more safe level. The musician doesn't have to have these wedges blasting away at him. And of course, they're not bleeding into anything else I'm mixing. Cons, one is that, of course, it is a little bit isolating, and it isn't quite as natural, and they don't have the feel of the sound. And so sometimes they still want side fills or wedges just so they have some of that presence. But the other con, of course, is radio waves, and it just, again, when you start talking about adding a lot of frequencies, it gets just a little bit harder to do.
Sure.
Sure. But as far as wireless mains, which is something I hear people asking me about from time to time, how can I make my main speakers wireless?
Right.
My answer is generally don't. Your mains are probably close enough to you that running copper shouldn't be the end of the world. I can tell you that I cannot think of a scenario, nor have I encountered a scenario in which I would make my main PA wireless. Just wouldn't do it.
So when we need to do that remote speaker in the second room, or different options like that, or a speaker on the other end of the room for a longer room.
Now that's a different story. Absolutely. That's one of those scenarios where, given the layout of a venue, given the event decor, the ingress and egress, the safe passage of guests, maybe wireless is the way to go. I think, I don't have to get a wire from here to there. My setup's going to be faster. My teardown's going to be faster, and I can alleviate these headaches. Wireless sound has some real advantages. There's a reason that musicians use wireless mics and wireless in-ears. Being wireless is very convenient.
Sure. Yeah, and I think this is a great topic, because if you guys have been on Facebook today, I think I've seen 4 different room layout maps today that have the one that specifically Jared Wade had with some.
That was great. I liked it.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job. Jared did that. If you guys didn't get a chance, go pop out and check that out. Jared Wade, search him out on Facebook. But he had a room diagram showing the DJ in a corner with all the guests and such, and the dance floor was just in a bad location compared to the DJ, compared to when a DJ was in a more centralized location. But that type of map we've seen, I think 4 of them today alone I saw, and there was many applications in there where if you can't fix it by moving the DJ, wireless audio or speakers on the other side of the room would have to be a consideration.
Yep, absolutely. And nobody puts DJ in the corner.
No. Most of the time that we're right up in front. I mean, it's the bride and groom, and I'm right there with them, shaking their hand and filling their drink. It's great. No? Okay, fine.
Must get better gigs than I do.
Okay, fine. So what are some solutions, what are some tools that we can use in this application?
Well, I brought 3, and they're 3 of probably the most common. And I'm going to sort of talk about them in a good, better, best. I'm pretty bluntly honest, as you know, and so advance apologies to your sponsors if I ruffle any feathers. I don't know if any of them are, but I'm just telling it like it is.
Yep,
and so
that's
if you don't want me to say it, then just make a better product. How about that? So it's the way it is. but in reality too, there is a balance here, and the pricing kind of bears out the performance. So at the same time, it's hard to knock anybody because they're priced appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the first one we're going to talk about, I think, is priced very, very cheap. But it's also ranks the lowest in my performance list.
Sure.
It is a system that was designed specifically for making speakers wireless, and it's the Alto Stealth.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see is a bass unit here. And on the bass unit, we can see we have some combo jacks on the back, which have both XLR and 1/4 inch input, which is nice. So it'll accommodate whatever your board is feeding. AC powered, of course. And then on the receiver, we have our little receiver pack with a little, rubber antenna. We have the ability to change it from receiving the left or right signal. And on the bass, there's a mono switch. And we see there's an XLR output. It's designed just purposely for powered speakers.
Nice.
Go right XLR out into the speaker. It's got a little mounting point here. And that's really all there is to it. The con is you're getting a bass and 2 receivers for something in the $300 range. And just a little common sense should tell us that it's probably not the best radio out there.
Mm-hmm. So,
again, from a performance standpoint, certainly we can knock it. Some people have great luck with it. Some people have terrible luck with it. My answer to everybody is it's less than $400. What did you expect? Come on, frankly, kudos to Alto for making it work at all, So I would just say, if you're looking for an inexpensive solution and, performance can be compromised at times, it's a great option.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want really rock solid, it doesn't get that vote from me, and I really do wish that somebody would make something like this that's a little bit better, but we've done the best we can in sort of making one ourselves, which we'll get to very last. So anyway.
Ooh, a teaser. Ooh,
yes, a teaser.
foreshadowing.
Yeah, like I said, you're not going to see ice cream and you're not going to see my wife, but you will see some great radio solutions here. So.
Boy, is that awesome.
All right. So number 2 is one that I see a lot. And certainly from the standpoint of radio propagation, it's a better system, but I got to say, I'm not really a fan of this one either. Now, some people use it and they have great results with it.
I am completely, I have no idea, because I would have figured I knew where one was going to be.
Okay.
In this progression.
I'm glad I got you guessing, John. I like
and
this.
now, because of what you just said about the last one, I have, unless there's 4. If there's 4, then I'm okay.
It's just 3.
Okay,
but,
so I'm befuddled. So
this is just payback, because you always keep me guessing on the topic. So we'll just call this fair. Option 2 is a camera mount wireless system, and this is designed as a wireless mic for video cameras.
Yeah.
Basically, you've got the receiver. One of these here is the receiver. Here we go. Here's the receiver. And of course, they're identically sized, but they function different. Mounts to the camera shoe. And then this is just your standard, body pack for lav or ear set or whatever. They're battery powered. Excuse me. And we also do have an AC power replacement for these. So you can make these AC powered. You can pop the batteries out and plug in this little thing that we make with some Sennheiser parts, and now it can be AC powered. But that's basically what you have. And the pro of that is it's a better radio than the Stealth. There's no question that the radio circuitry in here is better. The con is this is designed as a mic system. It's not really designed to carry full bandwidth stereo audio like you're outputting from your mixer. It just was never built for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's built to take a lav mic or an instrument mic or something. 2, we only have this little rubber, antenna, and that's all we have on both ends, and we can't change those. And that's very limiting, and sometimes too limiting for me. Frankly, it is too limiting for me. Again, I know a lot of people use this and they're happy with it. For me, the cost difference between this and the one I recommend is very close. It's so close, especially when we get into the apples and apples thing, because again, this is mono, 1 receiver.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do have a breakdown on these that I can email people if they want. So if you want something, I've kind of done a little bit of a breakdown saying, well, here's one receiver, two receivers, this system, that system, just because I got asked the question a million times. I made this PDF. So feel free to ask. So we'll put this in the better category. But it leads us to what I would say the best. The best thing we have short of something purpose-built with a high-quality radio, and that is dun, dun, dun. That is an IEM system. So here we have exactly the thing we were talking about with the bands in their ears. And this is a system that even is out on tours, but we have an in-ear monitoring system. And this system, like the other, is designed to accept stereo signal, either 2 XLRs or 1/4 inch or whatever. Does also have a loop out, by the way, as well. Kind of a nice little feature sometimes. Of course, it's AC powered, has Ethernet on board because, again, we're talking about a much more serious piece of gear here. There's RF management software and that sort of thing we can use with it. It's built for a higher class of user. No offense, but that's just sort of the reality, But one of my favorite things about this, in addition to the fact that it has 42 megahertz of tunable bandwidth, which I think breaks down to like 1,680 radio channels or something like that. They're 25 kilohertz channels. I don't know. Anyway, I do know, but I was trying to be humble. But anyway, it's I believe it's 30 milliwatt transmit power. I think I'm correct on that.
I think if I'm not mistaken, that has multiple settings.
Yeah, I believe it has a 10 and a 30.
A 10, 30, and a 50, if I'm not mistaken.
You could be right.
I know the belt pack.
If the IEM has a 50 or not. I know that the 300 series mics do, but I don't know if the IEM does. I just don't remember. Sorry, viewers. You got me. Something I don't know. But what it does have, which is critically important to me, is the antenna is removable. And that's so important because instead of using this 1/4 wave monopole that comes with it, I can change that antenna to a 1/2 wave, which is going to give us about 3 dB more. Or more importantly, something else that I can go mount out on a stand or something. And to me, this is a really, really big deal, particularly when you're talking about long distance and reliable. I think everybody knows the wireless world is getting a little harder.
Yeah.
Certainly not getting easier. And so you can use something like this, which is an Omni paddle. This is the 1031. And you can see it just has a BNC connection. So you can put a cable from this to the transmitter, put it on a mic stand, standard 5/8 inch thread. And now we are really propagating radio, as they say in the movies, right? That's what they say?
I do believe, I remember, and I think there's a t-shirt that says that too.
There should be. There really should be.
And we're
propagating radio. That would be the kind of t-shirt I would wear.
That would be pretty cool.
Anyway, there's also the directional paddles if we want to go a long distance. So we could go with like an LPA, a log periodic antenna, also called a shark fin or batwing. We've talked about those in some other shows. So to me, that is really the thing. It is designed to handle line level, stereo, full bandwidth audio, and propagate it exceptionally reliably. I mean, imagine what could be more important to a musician than their ears. Not much. And it can do it over a very long distance. So it gets the best ranking for me. We make a couple of custom cables that come out of the pack. Pack looks very similar to these other two packs, but it is different. And then that's really it. You're off to the races. Good RF management, and you have the most reliable system out there, basically.
So you were just at the Twin Stadium a week or two ago. If you wanted to, up by your, say, you were going to be setting up by home plate, just for this example, for people who have an idea of how deep a stadium is. And if I wanted to broadcast some wireless audio to the outfield, which is roughly 400 feet away, would that antenna that you just showed us, would that do it? Or would we need to do something different?
Well, RF is always environmental, which is something I do want to talk about. That kind of brings us to the thing that I wanted to talk about. So we'll do that right next. But to answer your question, we actually used this identical system as what's called an IFB. So the sideline reporter they had a football game at Target Field. And so we were standing in the outfield. That was the sideline. I was basically right in center field. And we used this for an IFB for a sideline reporter. And the press box is, of course, way behind home plate.
Yes.
And it was exceptionally reliable. We had no concerns about it whatsoever. And likewise, we were sending parabolic mic and stuff back using those fins and good RF management. So yeah, I mean, that's particularly outdoors like that, line of sight. Oh yeah, that's a piece of cake. That might even be an easier application than going 200 feet in a ballroom.
Wow.
Simply because it's open air. Inside we have surfaces and metal, and that's why we have that power switch to maybe go down to 10 milliwatt. Might be better to have less power. More power might be a problem because it starts bouncing around off things and creating, multipath nulls and that sort of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's all these little nuances to RF, which is a great segue to the next little thing. First of all, people talk about, cell phones. Well, it's cell phones interfered. Cell phones. Listen. We had 38,000, give or take, 38,000 cell phones at Target Field. My level of concern was zero, So people say, well, 100 cell phones walk in the room. 100, you're not scaring me. Again, we do arena shows with, 10,000 people in the audience, streaming a concert to Snapchat using cellular data. And we've got wireless mics on stage and wireless in-ears. That's not the issue. So here's my impassioned plea, just for the sake of my own sanity, stop buying wireless elsewhere, please. I know that sounds selfish and it sounds self-serving, and maybe it is, but man, I am just tired of reading people struggle on the forums. They can't get their wireless stuff to work. And I'm sitting here thinking, do you have any idea what I do? You're not going to pay any more to get the wireless from us, and somebody is going to guide you to a good place. In many cases, we're less money, but doggone it, I think even if we were more, we're worth it. What in the world would it take? I mean, what's it worth on a Saturday night to be able to reach out to somebody and say, I got a problem, and have somebody help you? That should be worth, hundreds of dollars.
In the right situation,
$20 or $30.
Yeah.
Anyway, do what you will. It really doesn't. I should say it doesn't affect me, but it clearly does. And it's just because of that place of frustration. It's not about losing those sales, but it's about watching this train wreck over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day, waking up and looking at the forums and going, you've got to be kidding me. You watch the show, I exist, we're here to help you. You probably have some inkling that I do RF in environments that are the size of, cities. The population of a stadium is the population of a small city.
Oh, for sure.
I can help you. But I'm only going to help you if you buy it from us. I think that's fair.
I think that's very fair.
And even if you don't think it's fair, I'm only going to help you if you buy it from us.
That's the
I think
reality.
it's unfair all you want, but I'm going to dedicate that time to the people who did. So there's the end of my rant. I just had to get that off my chest. I just can't read these posts anymore. And you know what? You could save a life. Tell a friend. Don't buy it somewhere else. They'll thank me later.
Save a life.
You could save mine.
You
my
could.
blood pressure gets. I can't go to the forums anymore.
It's like, no, don't do it. Oh, I've got this really cool FM thing that I just picked up off. Yeah.
Well, and the crazy thing is it's even some of the systems that we've talked about. You see people buy, and if only there was a magic system that we could just turn it on and it would work. I used this analogy the other day in a video and it got a lot of laughs, so I'll do it again. It's kind of like playing in traffic and not getting hit by a car. It doesn't mean it was a good idea. You got away with it. That's just not how the world works these days. That's certainly not how things happen at Target Field, the Twin Stadium, or any other stadium in the world. There's some thought process that has to go into it. But again, I'm not the least bit afraid, about helping you make 1, 2, or 10 wireless mics work on a Saturday. Doesn't stress me out at all. What stresses me out is having to battle between the desire to help somebody and knowing that I really can't.
Sure.
They're somebody else's customer and it's none of my business and I need to stay out of it. That's probably a greater conflict for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I definitely.
Let's just simplify that. Just buy your wireless from us.
And then you'll get that help when you need it. Ben, we've had some people on this couple of chats. They're asking about the Sennheiser, the XSW system, the little digital transmitters and receivers. The Sennheiser, of course, came out with these little, and I don't even think, I do have a pair. I think they're actually in the house. I don't think I have them out here. But they came out for digital, for cameras, for video recording and such. So that's what a lot of people are using them for. You have the little one on the camera, the other one's controlling either a microphone, handheld mic, or what have you. Using those for audio, what are your thoughts?
I know you did a test of them, and your results speak for themselves. But you noticed they didn't make my list. Two factors.
Mm-hmm.
One, they're 2.4 gigahertz. That's an ISM band that's very unpredictable. It's very crowded in often places with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Now cell phones are a factor. And all those cell phones have 2.4 gigahertz radios in them. Internal antennas, not a fan.
Yeah.
It's designed for short range from a camera to a person speaking, like you said. Your mileage may vary. It's a low cost, short range, low power ISM band system. I'm not going to tell anybody not to get them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to say, don't come crying to me if you did and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't put my stamp on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, if it's working for you, awesome. I'm happy. But that's not today's conversation. Today's conversation is, what would you recommend, Ben?
Exactly.
And I'm out here sticking my neck out. So there it is.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what I wanted to address, because yes, I have done some things with that, and I've found a couple of locations where, due to a high powered internet hub bigger than this one, at one of the venues, they just wouldn't work.
It's going to be hit or miss.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we talked about. It's sort of a get what you pay for kind of situation. It's going to be hit or miss. And for me, this is just for me. When I want to put a speaker 100 feet away and I want to send that sound to guests, and I don't have any ability to monitor that speaker, I don't know there's a problem until a guest comes up and yells at me. I really want to try to avoid problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want hit or miss. I want hit. Now, nothing is 100%.
Yeah.
If you said to me, my budget is $10,000 for a wireless mic and it cannot ever drop out, I'd say, nah, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. At some point, we are the bottom of the food chain. The best we can do is try to properly prepare ourselves, use the best equipment, the best filters inside, the best, radio transmission and reception devices, use them properly, and it's going to be pretty reliable. And the further down we go away from that, the less reliable it's going to be, but nothing is going to be foolproof. Nothing is going to be 100%. That's just a fact. That brings us back to the early part of the conversation. If it has to be 100%, copper is as close as you're going to get. Of course, copper is not even 100%, but it's a higher percentage,
Let's see, a couple of things here. Somebody was asking about a Shure version of that. Does Shure have a
Absolutely, yeah. PSM 900 would be a good option, no doubt. I don't think there's any need to go to the PSM 1000, although that's a really great system. So I would say PSM 900, and we sell those too. Just saying.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, Rez. I bought the XS because of the video I did. I've had one spot where they didn't work, and I just ran the wire because I wanted to have the audio jump over basically a garage door, and I didn't want to have a wire where the people would roll across it. I ran the wire. It was an NLFX wire. They could drive tanks over it, and it still survived.
We've yet to do that. I need to follow up with those guys.
Yeah,
those guys being those guys at the Army.
I keep telling the story about, and I was the other day talking, and it's like, yeah, and then they took it out, and they fired a nuclear warhead at it, and it still survived.
No, they said no to that. They also said no to firing anti-armor rounds at it, but they did say yes. Although again, we haven't been able to really get to the end, but they did say yes about taking some armored vehicles, Bradley fighting vehicles and that sort of thing, and driving over our cable for us. So I can't find anybody, if anybody's watching that has any connections with, U.S. Armor, I'd love to take like an M1A2 Abrams or something over it. I don't know. I guess we'll see what it takes to wreck one of our cables.
Sounds like a trip onto Little Falls there in the camp.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm even willing to go to El Paso, I think they have a lot of stuff down there at Fort Bliss, but they just, I'm not getting very far.
Not so much. Let's see. There was the, The model of the in-ear monitor system, is there a model number on that you had, or is that just like the only one that Sennheiser has?
No, they have a higher version as well. But again, this is certainly adequate, I think, for what we're talking about here. It's the EW IEM G4. But again, the only thing you really need to know is how to reach us, right? Mm-hmm. And I will send you that spreadsheet. I mean, that PDF, excuse me. If anybody wants that PDF, I'll send it to you. And again, you can buy it wherever you want. I already said my piece.
Mm-hmm. DJ Rez asked if there was a good system for under $500. And I think that, in essence, start at the beginning, because the first system we talked about was under $500. The second system, was that the G3 or G4, the belt packs you had?
These are actually G3s, but functionally it's for the conversation, we'll just say it's the same. Okay, It looks the same. It's close to $500 for a single transmitter and a single receiver.
For the G3 system.
G4.
Or G4 system. Okay, yeah. So I thought, but
under 600. By the time you figure in the cables and stuff, we're in that ballpark. But again, single transmitter, single receiver. When you start getting closer to what we're talking about with the IEM Twin, where we have a transmitter and two receivers, and again, we have to make a couple custom cables to go with that. At that point, when you do the same thing with the camera system, you basically need two camera systems. It's just about the same cost. And so to me, it's a no-brainer. Now, the only reason that might be compelling is sometimes people say, well, but I also want to use it as a mic. Okay. I mean, I guess then you got to choose. Am I doing wireless speakers today or am I doing a mic? I get that. The flexibility could be nice, and far be it from me to tell you how to run your business. I like to compartmentalize things a little more sometimes, but that's one thing about the IEM system is you can't use it as a mic. It is dedicated to do what it does, and thus it does it very well. Mm-hmm. The other system you can use different ways, but again, there's some compromises to be made there.
Excellent.
Just my opinion. So many of the things we talk about in this show are fact, and there's scientific fact. A lot of this is opinion. Mm-hmm. This is my opinion, but it's battle tested. It's tried and true. Again, the types of RF environments that I'm working in on a regular basis would probably make most DJs, go pale. But I've just gotten sort of, I don't know, cynical or used to that. I mean, that's just my normal.
Mm-hmm.
You just
cynical. Yeah, that's you. You're kind of.
It really is, isn't it? But I mean, hundreds of wireless devices in a stadium with 38,000 people is just a Saturday for me. I mean, that's I'm not trying to, brag. That's not I'm just saying that's just my reality. I don't even really think about it anymore. I walk out onto that field at Target Field and I'm just thinking it's another day at work, which in some ways is kind of sad. I'm just sort of, waxing philosophical, but it kind of takes away, you kind of lose, the magic. You have to sort of bring yourself back and say, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. I've lost that, I guess. So I just discovered that I lost that in this conversation. And I thought, I really should have been more,
you're just becoming a jaded old man.
Yeah, I am. Jaded, that's the word. Jaded and cynical.
Wow. That's sad. Sad revelations happening tonight on Tuesday night with Ben.
But at that show, at that game, they added country singer Jordan Davis. I guess he's got some hits. Nice guy. Mm-hmm. He had a stage in the far edge of the outfield. And of course, he had wireless mics and IEMs in addition to all the other stuff we had. And this was a very last minute addition, just some no pun intended, some wires got crossed. We didn't get that information. And all of a sudden, hey, there's another 30 wireless frequencies going on over here. And, this is literally like 10 minutes before he's supposed to go on. I get his wireless frequencies, realize there's some conflict, talk to my partner that's handling the actual calculations. I'm sort of the on-site nerd. Mm-hmm. And, and so here we are as he's walking to the stage, grabbing his guitar, we're changing wireless frequencies. Again, wasn't the least bit rattled. I'm like, well, let's just, here we go. It's another Saturday.
Yeah.
So. I really need to get out more. I need a new hobby.
You pretty much do. I hear that there's an ice cream shop up there, but maybe you could check out. I'm just going to say it.
Well, got to go. See ya.
Jimmy's asking a question about signal sent through RF via RF through power lines. And he's asked that a couple of times, RF through power lines. And I'm not sure. what he's
Well,
meaning.
RF is also sent over coax for cable TV, but why are you asking?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure, Jimmy, what he's asking, because Jimmy comes from a television world with broadcast.
I'll say this, and I love Jimmy. He's one of my favorite people, but let me just, he's got a great big heart. And of course he's a talented designer. He does, our intro graphics, but I think the whole point we're talking about here is cutting the wire. So if we're going to propagate it over a power line, or we're going to propagate it over a coax or any other, wire, what's the point? Now, he might be saying, well, we could use the building's internal wiring to propagate that. I'm going to say that I think the levels of complexity involved there really outweigh what we're talking about here. So I think I'm going to just sort of take the easy way out and say, let's not talk about that.
Yeah. I don't remember when we picked up one of those internet extenders that went through the power lines at one time early on, and when we had the house, and we're just, it was such a mess.
I'm just going to say let's just
we'll leave that alone. So, yes, Scuba, the XSW system was addressed. I think I probably had 15 posts, maybe 20 questions about that. 2.4 gigahertz unit has some applications. It's not going to be consistent. I personally have had one spot out of probably 10 uses now that it didn't function for me just because of interference. Otherwise, it's worked well in different applications that I have done. And I have tested it outside. I literally was testing a unit yesterday, the day before, out here, and I can go about 100 steps before I start to have dropouts outside without anything around. And then
and I'm not trying to blow up your video. I know you did a video, and I know that people have bought the system based on that video, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad or regret about that. But again, this is me sticking my neck out. And,
but I think the one situation where I was going to put it here, and I wanted it across the room about 20 feet away, and that was not with that overhead door, and it just wasn't. It seemed that I was having dropouts. But if I moved it over a little bit and went at a different angle, it worked fine. And there was just these little nuances to it where maybe I was having a signal bounce off these big glass windows that were, or the glass that was between it. I don't know. There's
probably something metal, unless it's polarized glass, it's largely invisible to RF. But anyway, I guess your mileage may vary, and certainly, and again, for the price point, goodness, I mean, it's very inexpensive. If you got one, you shouldn't feel bad about it because you got a heck of a radio for what you paid.
Yeah.
So,
Jimmy, drive-in FM transmitter.
No, you got to have a license to use those.
Yeah, that's a little bit more than anything that we would.
Yeah, I mean, sure, if you put up a 1 watt FM transmitter, now you can go for miles and miles and miles, but that's a no. That's a no from me.
Yeah, the only people who do that around here are the snowmobile races, and they do that in the winter time. And by the time they broadcast for 2 hours, and somebody's complaining about it because it's killed their stuff, they're gone. Because that happened locally. They went down a frequency that was one of the more popular radio stations in the area. Oops.
Yeah, I realized I got a little edgy tonight. Maybe I do need some ice cream.
You do. I think that we should do is we should all next week take up actually next Tuesday night it's going to be the Brian and Ben show. Because the guys the last Tuesday of the month is going to be the night that the guys basically just get together. No script. It's just going to be the two of them riffing about all of the bad things.
Oh, so I should have saved tonight for that.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday,
I'm sure.
I'm going to be in Arkansas next Tuesday.
Oh.
I'll be with the production manager from a group I toured with, and might see if he wants to be on the show or not. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'll have to give that some thought.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. You've had some interesting guests over the years when we've done those types of shows.
He is a close friend of mine.
Nice.
I don't know. I'll talk to Brian about it. So it might be interesting, and we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah. So, gang, we're going to wrap things up here for tonight. Yeah, we'll have more information about what we're doing next week for Tuesday night. But yeah, that should be at Brian's time if everything works out. We'll have to get our schedules coincided for that. So, Ben, thank you for your time of putting some things together. And if you guys are looking for any of the pieces from tonight's show, in the description of the video down below is the link to the website. click that. Go out to the NLFX Pro website and you can find out more information on these things. Find something you like, give them a call, and they'll walk you through on finding the right piece that'll be the best option for your company. So, Ben?
And we can support it.
And you can
And
support
we
it.
price match in almost every instance. So goodness gracious.
Nice.
Save yourself the heartache.
So if I get a Blizzard on sale, you'll price match the Blizzard?
Say that again.
If I get a Blizzard on sale, and you, like the one that has a cookie dough Blizzard, and you're going to be able to get one and price match it for me?
Hey, we don't sell ice cream. I thought you were working on an endorsement from Dairy Queen. How's that going, by the way?
Yeah, not very good. Not very good. We got to get Cheyenne on that.
You haven't even called them, have you? No.
She'll do much better than you and I will. So anyway,
You know what? I noticed these things actually, it's like 100 degrees in this room now. And these work good as a fan, too.
multi-purpose. All right.
The most expensive fan I own, but
It'll work. We'll let Ben go tonight. We'll be back in about 20 minutes with Brian Red. We're going to be talking tonight about if we ran the zoo. I mean, the DJ party.
these don't work. These don't work so
not
good.
so much. Good night, everybody.
Bye.